It's time for our final conversation this morning on Wake Up Nigeria, and it is with Pastor Bola Akinlabi. She is the global co-lead pastor of the Elevation Church. Pastor Bola made their screen debut in the Wives YouTube series. She made a cameo appearance as a marriage counselor where she was helping to provide clarity for disputing couples. It's such a pleasure to have you in the studio this morning.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
Awesome. So when we talk about faith and then we talk about movies, people believe that whatever it is you have to do always has to have something faith-based on. Tell us more about what you're doing with the movie industry.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for that question. The Wives is a 10-part series.
Okay.
We launched it on YouTube, and the whole idea behind it really is just to create a safe space for real in-depth conversations about relationships, about marriage, indeed the entire life cycle of your relationship before you start, as you're in it, and even as you go through the typical cycles and emotions couples tend to go through. You know, sometimes you see people who on the outside look like, we say couple goals. We have no clue about what's going on behind closed doors.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we just really wanted to create a safe space for real conversations to go on so that regardless of where you are on your relationship journey, you can find a place to be real, to connect, to have conversations about the real things that are going on, and ultimately, the ultimate goal is healing, that there would be healed relationships.
You know, when people talk about films that have to do with religion, the first that comes to mind, and oftentimes the only, is Mount Zion. And then there's this talk about why aren't there so many more who are pronounced and well known. So this is actually quite commendable because it's a way to also have regular conversations. You go to church events and you see people acting dramas. You go to even Islamic events, you see people acting dramas to try to portray something being taught. But when you come to mainstream, you rarely ever see anything of such packaged properly in a way that it will be pleasing to everyone. And so I'm wondering, what was it that this project cost you? And when I'm saying cost you, I'm not even talking about the financial part. I'm talking about psychologically, emotionally, and even as a church itself.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it was a huge labor of love. The entire project from start to finish, because we were committed to excellence. And I want to take the time to really give a shout out to everyone who has gone ahead of us, everyone who's just, you know, operated in that space, because I have a healthy, you know, respect for what goes into really producing a project like this and wanting to produce it with excellence. In terms of getting the story out there, in terms of conveying the real emotions. Because we didn't just want to, you know, put something together that sounded, you know, okay, you know, just from one perspective. We wanted real stories and real people, relatable, you know, situations. So it was really a labor of love, from finances to just the commitment to excellence. Our producers were sticklers for excellence, from the casting to the scripting. Everything was attention to detail and attention to excellence.
I'm glad you mentioned scripting, because that's where I was going to. It's one thing to be inspired. It's another thing to put pen to paper. Who wrote the story?
So we, when we realized that this was a space we really wanted to operate in, we just kind of put the word out there that we were looking for really great stories. You know, and we shortlisted a few. There were at least 3 or so that we thought were really strong, were very, you know, really spoke to the areas that we really wanted to address. So it was a collaborative effort, I would say. And yeah, we went with this one first. We still have a few in our library that we hope to launch very soon. Very soon.
So we're starting off with the Wives.
We're starting off with the Wives.
So now let's even delve into the Wives. Let's take a look at 1 or 2 of the stories. And how they can relate to everyday lives, as you mentioned. Just tell us 1 or 2 of them.
Okay, so I think the obvious one to start with is Matthew and Dimma. You cannot come away from this series without having a very strong opinion about Matthew and Dimma. And when you think about Matthew in his own situation, with his wife, he had a history of infidelity, and that was coloring their own dynamic.
Okay.
So all of the responses we were seeing coming from Mooney were a result of something that had occurred in the past that they maybe thought they had healed from, but we're seeing like 7, 8 years after, we're still showing up to just kind of affect their dynamic. That's on one side. But let's go over to Dimma. Okay. And, you know, her own side. I mean, Patrick Adipa, by the way, was such a fantastic, you know, character for that role, because obviously controlling, obviously a very strong, you know, type D personality. And here's Dimma doing all she can to manage peace in her home. And if you think about it, honestly, you either know someone who is in that space,
or you might be
the person in that space. So very relatable, very easy to see how sometimes we ignore the red flags. Sometimes we extend grace in places we ought to be saying, let's have a conversation. Yeah. So what we hope is that this will spark real conversations
in relationships. All right. Okay, so when we talk about choosing a title,
yes,
I'm wondering, with the fact that you're talking about the strong male characters, why wasn't it named The Husbands?
In fact, some of the comments we've seen across social media, by the way, that's also been really interesting to see the kind of responses, because people are resonating deeply, obviously, with these stories and with the characters. Everyone has something to say about The Husbands. But in honest truth, what I have found, and this is from a few years of just being in that counseling space, is that when there's a break in the dynamic in relationships, more often than not, the biggest collateral damage tends to happen with the women. And I'm not saying it's fair or that it's a balanced result, but that's what we tend to see. If you can take a step away from the story and think about war, for example, in our region in Africa, every time there is displacement and people are driven from home, everyone feels the pain, but you find that the people who typically suffer the most are the women and the children. So it is what it is. And obviously, a lot of help ought to go into supporting everyone in the family, yes, but particularly the women and the children.
All right, all right. This is very interesting. And the thing is, when it comes to movies, production, it's usually easy to criticize until you find yourself behind the cameras yourself, trying to put a project together.
Absolutely. I used to be an armchair director.
What lesson would you say this has taught you, putting this project together?
I think number one is, as the executive producer, because I only executive produced, I wasn't fully involved. I and 2 other people were executive producers, my husband and one other senior person. But as much as possible, remove yourself from the selection process. Because if you want an excellent production, then you have to be committed to excellence. You have to be willing to make it an open audition. Make sure that the best people that you're able to bring on board at that time do take those roles. Do everything you can to ensure that you have excellent designs, excellent, just commit to excellence. And excellence doesn't always mean spending the most money. But within the capacity you have at that point in time, make a commitment to excellence and put your full chest behind it.
Commitment to excellence is why you're here, despite your sprained
yes.
Like we could see that, so I had to make reference to it.
Thank you.
It's getting better, I believe.
Oh, it is. It's much better.
So what do we expect from you moving forward?
Oh, I'm looking forward to much more coming from our stables. We already have one that is close, to production. So we hope to also launch that soon. So far on The Wives, we've done almost 300,000 in views, and we still have 5 more episodes to go. So that's really encouraging. That tells us that the conversations are resonating. That tells us that people are engaging. Again, like I said, I can't get away from the fact that ultimately what we want to see is that people are having the real conversations they ought to have so that there is healing. That's something my husband says often, and I don't mind echoing it. He says, revealing my feeling is the beginning of healing.
Revealing my feeling is the beginning of healing. I like that.
Exactly, yes.
I like that.
So look forward to much more from us, more real stories that resonate. If you haven't already seen The Wives, please go and see it. Like I said, 5 episodes already out, 5 more to go. And I mean, the cliffhangers have been, you know, they've been
huge.
Jarring. You know, even I was, you know, even though I was involved in the production, just to watch those episodes again, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is such a great story. So even though I sound like I'm really plugging it, I can't help it. Yes. So look forward to more real stories, more real conversations, and more relatable contexts where we can reach people.
Awesome. Now, as a co-lead pastor, I know pastors tend to take breaks from feeding in the morning. I'm wondering, are you fasting today?
Oh, well, it's pretty early. Today is early. I don't typically eat this early, but yeah.
Okay. So
I'm wondering what the right answer to that question is, but yeah, I'll just put that out there.
All right.